Hi, I'm Kate Simmons, and today we're going to talk about co-writing. Songs are written in lots of different ways, and therefore co-writing can happen in lots of different ways. The first worship song I was involved in writing was a song called When I Was Lost, which came about by my husband Miles tinkering around on the piano, and he started playing what became the intro, and I said, I reckon I could write a song to that. So sometimes it's just a little flash of unexpected inspiration that starts the ball rolling. And when we were in lockdown in those COVID years, I got in touch with some old friends in the UK, Geraldine Latty and Kerry Luce, and we decided to try writing together. And initially we wrote a whole bunch of Christmas songs, including one called To Us He Came, where they wrote all the melody and I wrote all the lyrics. My passion is lyrics, so that was a real gift to me, and I like that way of working a lot. But we've also worked together where we've both contributed melody and lyrics, or one has written a whole bridge and so on. You just need to figure out what your strengths are. Are you a lyrics person? Are you a melody person? Are you a chord sequence vibe person? Figure out what your strength is and bring that to the table. Brooke Ligertwood says that when it comes to collaboration, one of the most important things to do is lay a foundation of conversation and shared agenda. So when she and her husband Scott wrote the song King of Kings with Jason Ingram, she says they started with a 3-hour lunch, just talked about the church, laying a foundation that they could start writing from. Jonas Myron says the power of co-writing is to bring ideas with open hands and to share them freely. And Brandon Lake says bring titles, scriptures and themes, as well as your best melody and lyric ideas. And he says commit to helping set the atmosphere in the room. Keep it high in encouragement and energy. These days, a lot of songs seem to have a lot of writers' names on that copyright line along the bottom. So if you're starting out in co-writing, maybe keep the number of writers smaller rather than larger to begin with. If you've got 6 people in the room, that's a lot of ideas to coordinate. It's a lot of opinions. And I think it's easier to co-write with 1 or 2 people while you get the feel of it. You obviously need to be considerate of other people's contributions. Be an encourager. Choose your words well if a suggestion someone makes is really not resonating with you. Maybe sleep on a suggestion. When you're used to hearing something a certain way, it can take a while to get used to the possibility of it becoming something else. And Brandon Lake again says, if you believe your idea is always best, you'll struggle to collaborate. And make it easy for someone to reject your idea. Take the initiative and move on. The great thing about co-writing is the different perspectives and ideas you wouldn't have otherwise had access to working alone. And when you meet up, whether in person or online, at the end of that meeting, put a date in the diary to meet again. That gives you a deadline to work on something by. Sometimes we creatives need deadlines to get things done. And if you co-write with others, you're creating something together. And while, it might be a bit awkward to talk about this, the reality is you will at some point need to talk about song splits, or in other words, how you divide the ownership of that song. I've heard Keith Getty say that's just between you and the other writers in the room. So I'm not going to say you should do this or this, but here's a couple of thoughts. You can just decide before you start that whatever happens, you'll split it evenly. That's probably best if you're all starting on a songwriting session from scratch, and then it doesn't require any further thought. But another scenario might be if someone's written, say, 80% of a song, and then they invite you to come in and help edit and finish it. They might say, let's split it evenly, but you might think, well, you did a whole lot more, so you should have a bigger split. I think you just need to arrive at a place that seems fair to all parties involved, and it's usually better to err on the side of generosity. It should be a fun, exciting, inspiring thing to spend time with other writers. Make the health and quality of your friendships and relationships with your co-writers the most important thing, so that you all want to come back and write together again another day.